Hello and welcome to Life with Sandra Hart podcast. I started this podcast channel about 7 years ago, and I did it now and then, but really not on a regular basis. And then 6 years ago, I just stopped because I got so involved in my regular long-form YouTube videos. But recently, I've been thinking about my life and a lot of stories that I could share with everyone. And I thought it might be kind of fun to reinvent and reinvigorate this podcast channel by just talking about things that have happened to me in my life, stories and topics that we may all be interested in. And going through my memorabilia, I came upon a lot of things that I had been keeping throughout the years, from way back when I was in high school. And I had a pen pal. And it just so happened that she lived in East Berlin. This is back in 1953. And it's always been my rule that if something has been hanging in my closet for a year or two, and I haven't worn it more than once, it goes to our local thrift shop. I just want to donate it because I don't think it's much sense to have it hanging in my closet if I haven't worn it. Clothes are rather easily to toss. But anything with memories, it's not so easy. Having lived in the same house in New Jersey for over 40 years, actually 44 years, you can just imagine how many memory-attached things I had. And as it's strange as it may seem to you, I even still, here in South Beach, have my mother's purse I brought home from the hospital when she died, with all of her precious personal items still tucked inside. Oh, a real grandma's purse. A piece of her and who she was, with short handles and a snap closure that's still tucked away on my closet shelf. All of this brings me to my efforts today to finally begin eliminating some stuff among my personal things. I had an old Balfour box from my college jewelry days, and in it I found a group of long forgotten time-weathered envelopes addressed to me in Ohio, posted from East Berlin, Germany. Letters that took me back into the world that was about to change, of course we all know now, beyond the innocent exchanges of my new pen pal, Ursula Thye. We became pen pals through a program at our Methodist church. The beginning year of our childhood correspondence was way back in 1953. I had just turned 14 and was enjoying the freedoms of being in junior high and not so happy about living in a mill town along the Ohio River. I looked at a letter, and I'm not going to read the whole thing to you, but it was dated Berlin, February 27th, 1953. Dear Sandra, thank you for your letter. You wrote it in December, and I got it in February. We girls here in Germany are now in what we call Y-Teen. Our name is Young Community of Evangelist Church. And in our group are girls from 14 to 20. I myself am 17. I live in Berlin with my mother and brother. My father was falling in the contention of 1945, which meant, as her translation in England is, that her father was killed in 1945 during the war. She said she has blonde hair and blue eyes, and she's asked if I had a photo to please send it to me. Well, it goes on and talking about in her world. And I wrote back to her that we had just elected a new president, Dwight D. Eisenhower, and I was glued to my television set watching I Love Lucy give birth. And Walt Disney's fourth animated film, Peter Pan, arrived at our movie theater. So it's really interesting when I look back on all of these letters, and it brings me back to a life that was, and how that she was in her world. She was learning English and going to festivals and singing jolly songs. I lost contact with her throughout the years, but I've always wondered what happened to Ursula. And on June 17th of that year, things would change for her in East Germany, for sure. We continued to write back and forth, and then I went to college, and I completely lost touch with her. And there probably will never be a closure to my friendship with Ursula. I've tried to find her via the internet, but the one I found had her father died in 1965, and the facts don't match. I just have to believe that maybe, I don't know, she was older than I was, that she might be still alive and living a contented life without a wall separating her from her extended family. As for my Berlin connection, my daughter and grandson and I visited Berlin for the first time in 2008 during Oktoberfest. We stayed at the Upstosblum Hotel in East Germany, close to the rail lines that took us to Alexanderplatz and access to all points in Berlin. We took the hop-on, hop-off bus around the city and saw the best of Berlin. Actually, it's the easiest way to independently tour the city highlights. Berlin was such a beautiful city and has been re-energized in the best way, the best architectural way. They have even left a few World War II buildings in their bombed-out condition for remembrance of what humanity can do to one another. The Holocaust Museum there is free to all visitor and is a moving testament to the past history of what can easily happen in a society driven by a madman. So I leave my memories of Ursula with this podcast and have to move on. But I never again will forget and set aside my letters from Ursula. Back in the Balfour box, they will go in again today. But this time, I won't forget her. I promise. And as I sit here in a world that is chaotic, unpredictable, it seems almost something out of, I don't know, something out of a storybook. It doesn't seem something that could really be real today, what is happening. It seems as though we are turning the clock back on the way we treat people, the way we think about things, and how we are so divided in life, in our ideas. I only wish that we could bring back that acceptance and camaraderie that we had when we were young children, where we loved people and accepted people for their morals, for their characters, and who they were as human beings. We didn't care about their politics. We didn't care about what religion they were faithful to, or if they were not faithful to anything. We loved them and were friends with them because of who they were as humans. How wonderful it would be if we could let go all of the hate in the world and all of the division in the world and become loving and forgiving and accepting of one another. Thank you for listening today, and I hope you will come back for another podcast and another walk down memory lane, or my opinions on life and what is happening with all of us worldwide. Take care, and I hope to hear from you soon.